My dear students, welcome to my today's class. I am Dr. MEERA B K, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Zoology, Maharani Science College for Women, Palace Road, Bangalore 1. Today I am going to talk on different types of eggs. In my previous class, I have told you how the eggs have been classified based on the amount of yolk present and also based on the distribution of yolk that is present in the egg. But amount and distribution of yolk present is not only the criteria to classify the animal eggs. That means to say, there are other criteria based on which the animal eggs are often classified. One such criteria is based on their potency to develop, where we have classified animal eggs into mosaic eggs and regulative eggs. The potency of the egg forms the criterion, and there is another criterion by which the animal eggs can be classified, that is presence or absence of leathery calcareous shell. If the calcareous shell is present, such eggs are called cleidoic eggs. Best example being hen's egg, reptilian egg, etc. And if the shell is absent, such eggs are called non-cleidoic eggs like amphibian eggs. So today in this class, I am going to discuss about mosaic and regulative eggs, the criterion for classification being the potency of development, and the cleidoic egg or the hen's egg and its significance, where the criterion to classify is the presence or absence of shell, calcareous shell. You do see my mobile number and email ID on the slide. After the class, if there are any queries, do contact me. Now let us start the class. Based on the potentiality to develop, animal eggs have been classified into two types, as I was telling you previously. One type of egg is called mosaic eggs. These eggs are with predetermined regions. That means, in other words, eggs with predetermined regions are called mosaic eggs. Here, the different regions on the egg are earmarked to form specific parts of the embryo even before the cleavage begins. If a small area of the ovum is destroyed or a part of the blastomere after setting on the cleavage is dissected and removed experimentally, the result is the complete embryo will not be formed. The embryo will be defective, lacking in certain parts corresponding to the area destroyed. This type of development is called determinate development, where the development pattern is the fate of each blastomere or each region on the egg is determined, and such eggs with predetermined regions are called mosaic eggs, and the type of development resulting out of mosaic eggs is called determinate development. For example, an isolated blastomere of the two-celled stage of dentalium. Dentalium is a mollusk commonly called elephant's tusk shell because of its shape. In this animal, if the blastomere is separated at two-celled stage, each blastomere develops into a half larva. You will never get a full complete larva. Apart from dentalium, nematodes, annelids, mollusks, ascidians, and amphioxus, in all these animals, you come across this type of development, determinate development, and the type of egg is said to be mosaic egg. Here in the diagram, you can see, so one blastomere is detached, and as a result, that part will not develop further at all, and finally you will get an half embryo, never the full, and it is not viable. Ultimately it dies. So this type of egg is called mosaic egg, and the development is called determinate development. Hope it's clear. Then the second type of eggs are regulative eggs. The eggs, on the other hand, without any predetermined regions, are called regulative eggs. Here, the normal development demonstrates a general relationship between blastomere and the fate, but still the blastomeres possess more capabilities than they ordinarily show. So if you destruct a part of the blastomere or a complete blastomere with certain presumptive fate, or if you displace it to a strange position from its original position, this is followed by readjustments and substitutions, and the outcome is a normal embryo, in contrast to the case in development, determinate development. So this type of development is called indeterminate development, and such eggs are called regulative eggs because they are capable of regulating their potentialities to develop depending on the situation. Best example for this, echinoderm and vertebrate eggs. A first cleavage blastomere here, if isolated, can alter its usual destiny and develop into a complete larva, viable larva, but the size will be small, the embryo will be small. Similarly, when two fertilized eggs are made to join, like a two-celled stage, the outcome is a single giant embryo. So here, the potencies of blastomeres are greater than their normal performance, which are exhibited when there is a need. In the slide, you can see the four-celled stage. In this stage, if you separate all the four cells ABCD, you will get 4 complete larvae, and none of the larvae will die, and the potentialities are adjusted. Of course, the size of the larva will be small. Such eggs are called regulative eggs, and the development is called indeterminate development. So by now we must have understood that mosaic egg and determinate development go hand in hand, while the regulative eggs and indeterminate development go hand in hand. Now, after learning about the classification of eggs based on their potencies, let us study the cleidoic eggs. Eggs covered by a leathery or calcareous shell are called cleidoic eggs. Cleidoic meaning closed box. And those eggs which do not have this shell, which lack this shell, are called non-cleidoic eggs. Best example for cleidoic eggs you have seen: avian egg, bird's egg, especially hen's egg. It is macrolethal, and on hatching, the chick is almost an adult bird. The bird is almost better equipped to lead an independent life. I'll tell you a little later why I am mentioning this fact. Please remember, on hatching, the chick is almost an adult bird which is well equipped to lead an independent life. This slide shows the cleidoic eggs, how it looks like, and you can observe the calcareous shell, the brown color with spots or the white color. Now, what was the reason for evolution of such a cleidoic egg? Where was the necessity for the appearance of such a cleidoic egg? Now we should understand, from the class Reptilia onwards, true terrestrialization begins. Till fishes, they are aquatic. Amphibians are amphibious in their habitat. They live both in land and water, though they return to water for reproduction and breeding. But from Reptilia onwards, there is an attempt to conquer the land 100%. So there is an attempt to terrestrialize, and with this attempt to terrestrialize, the pattern of development changes and the degree of dependence upon the environment also varies. Please note, most of the amphibians return to water for egg laying. I mean terrestrial amphibians. And some salamanders, that is tailed amphibians, and gymnophions, that is limbless amphibians, they lay eggs in moist burrows. Where minimum quantity of water is available for development. So though they have conquered land as far as living is concerned, but for reproduction they do come back to the moist areas. But from Reptilia onwards, more terrestrialization posed a greater problem as far as absorption of water from the exterior is concerned. That means there is acute depth of water. That means water is available in very minimal quantities. Thus, large eggs with more yolk and watertight membranes appeared during the course of evolution. The only purpose is to minimize the loss of water that would have happened through evaporation. These eggs became self-sufficient, like cleidoic means closed box. The only dependency on environment is oxygen intake. But for this, they are almost completely closed off from the environment. So there was a need for the appearance of cleidoic eggs during the course of evolution to meet the true requirements of terrestrialization. Now let us study the metabolic properties of cleidoic egg. What will happen to the metabolic properties in such an egg? First one, major thing is disposal of nitrogenous wastes is a problem. Here, accumulation of toxic nitrogenous waste products is avoided. See, normally with the metabolism, protein metabolism, 3 types of nitrogenous waste products are produced: ammonia, urea and uric acid. So these eggs, have taken care that the accumulation of toxic nitrogenous waste is avoided. How? How means materials other than proteins are used as energy source. Only 3% proteins are utilized in contrast to 26.1% in non-cleidoic eggs. That means cleidoic eggs utilize only 3% of the proteins, whereas non-cleidoic eggs utilize 26.1% of the proteins. And further, fat catabolism is more in cleidoic eggs. They are dependent on fat reserves for their energy requirements more than proteins. 80% dependency is on fat. Whereas in non-cleidoic eggs, like those of amphibians, only 30% dependency on fats is observed. So, proteins are avoided and fats are utilized to meet the energy requirements. Nitrogen metabolism results in byproducts like ammonia, urea and uric acid, as I was telling you. The excretion of ammonia of the three requires large quantities of water, so it is ruled out in case of cleidoic eggs. Then next comes urea, which also requires water but not to that extent of ammonia, but cleidoic eggs cannot afford even that much of water. So what is left is uric acid. On the other hand, uric acid requires very little quantity of water for its elimination, and they are eliminated in the form of white pellets. You must have seen birds' excreta, green along with white pellets. That white pellet is nothing but the uric acid. So this is how the production of nitrogenous waste is minimized, and whatever little is produced, it is excreted in the form of uric acid. Thus, uricotelism, that is excretion of uric acid as predominant nitrogenous waste product, is an adaptation in birds and reptiles invariably. Then chick embryo during the first week of development produces the enzyme uricase, which breaks uric acid into ammonia and urea. But in the later days of development, this enzyme is not produced, and therefore they produce uric acid as major nitrogenous waste product, which is stored temporarily in an extraembryonic membrane called allantois. Then second significance or metabolic property is that development rate of embryo is fast in case of cleidoic eggs. Incubation period of an avian egg is less when compared to the mammalian gestation. Say for example in hen's egg, 21 days is the incubation period. After 21 days, almost a bird comes out which is capable of leading an independent life. Then it takes considerably longer duration to make a mammal of given birth weight than a bird of equivalent weight. So, rapidity of incubation is an adaptation that permits rapid passage through this cleidoicity or cleidoic state. Then the third metabolic property is they have remarkable resistance to ketosis. They utilize fats in larger quantities to meet their energy requirements, I was telling you. And this combustion of fat during early stage of development results in a product called acetoacetic acid, AAA, leading to the formation of ketone bodies, and accumulation of these ketone bodies in the body is called ketosis, which is a pathological condition in humans. And it is toxic. But to our surprise, chick embryo never show any symptoms of ketosis. That means they have a great resistance to ketosis. This is another adaptation to meet the cleidoicity conditions. Then combustion of fat produces enough metabolic water, please note, which is required for the growth. So there is acute scarcity of water inside, and whatever little quantity of water need is there, that is taken care of through the metabolic water, which is a product of combustion of fat. Please note, long chain fatty acids with number of hydrogen atoms provide equivalent water molecules for every molecule of fatty acid oxidized. Then another very significant fact what you have to know is development of extra embryonic membranes. From reptilian onwards in amniotes, there is development of extra embryonic membranes such as yolk sac, amnion, chorion and allantois. These are developed as a terrestrial adaptation to enable the egg to be laid on land and develop on land. So each extra embryonic membrane, though it doesn't go into the formation of embryo proper as such, has its own significant role to play during development. For example, yolk sac assists in nutrition. Amnion and chorion, they take care of the young ones, protection and respiration. And allantois is a bag meant to collect toxic nitrogenous waste product. So, development of extra embryonic membrane is a special device for nutrition, protection and to meet metabolic requirements of the developing young one. It is an important adaptation seen in cleidoic eggs. So, till now I have told you the classification of eggs based on the potency of development, and then I have briefed the evolution of cleidoic egg, need for evolution, what are the metabolic properties and significance. Thank you for your patient listening. If there are any queries, do contact me. Stay blessed. Thank you.